Hey, it's Verity here from the creative team and welcome back to the Wow Embossing Powder YouTube channel. Wow have a new designer on board and Seth Apter has come out with a selection of lovely embossing powders and a mixed media brush. This is great for mixed media artists out there, but if you're like me and you don't create mixed media art that much, I wanted to show you how you can use it with card making. I'm also using Seth Apter's Metalz trio, which are stunning and unique metallic embossing powders. So here is the Metalz trio, which contains 3 new metallic embossing powders. They are etched platinum, weathered gold and crusty copper. And as you can tell from the name, they are built on the foundation metallics that WOW are known for, but have an extra twist to give them a more distressed appearance. They contain some extra glitter in them, giving a little texture, and then darker powders mixed in for a more aged look. And the mixed media brush comes in a small container similar to the refill tool, but it has a white top so you don't mix them up. And then when you open it up, the brush is very similar to a nail polish brush, which makes it very easy to use. The first background we are going to create shows off the 3 powders really well, and it creates a simple background base for any design that you want to add over the top. I've used a white card panel, so I'm applying the embossing ink with a brush over the top, and you may find it a bit hard to see with this white at first on the video as I'm applying it. However, in person the shine from the ink is very easy to see, so you can easily see where you're painting. Now my advice to you is to make sure you wipe off the excess ink off the brush before you apply the ink, as you don't need a lot of ink. Now on this first card I used more than was needed, so learn from what I'm doing here. Now as you can see, it's very easy to see where you applied the ink. It shines really well in the light. The first embossing powder I'm using is the crusty copper. This has a lovely copper embossing powder that we know, but it has added darker powder granules and smaller glitter to give it that aged look. Now as this melts, you can just see that shine from the metallic, but it has that distressed look to it and it's beautiful. So I've repeated adding the ink again in the same motion as previously seen, and I've done this below the copper and I'm covering it with weathered gold. The names in this trio are so appropriate as it really does look like weathered gold. In this powder, you'll notice the darker powder mix is more noticeable in the gold when it's heat set, because gold is more of a lighter metallic than the copper, so it looks quite distressed. Again, I've applied the ink one last time to the bottom of the card and then covered this in the last one in this trio, which is etched platinum. Of course, it's got that gorgeous platinum base, but with added elements, it's given it that aged look. And this background was quick and easy to make, so it can be used for a whole variety of designs, so it's perfect for a base to a card, but you could also use a variety of different embossing powders, not just these metallics. For the next background, we're just going to change up the design, and this time I'm using a piece of soft stone Gina cardstock, as the tone of this card works really well with this trio of embossing powders. This time I'm using the brush and initially brushing the ink so it stretches nearly the width of the panel, and as I start moving up the panel I'm just making the area slightly smaller. Now I'm not being neat with this as it's more of an abstract look to the background anyway, and it gives it that more distressed look which really pairs well with the embossing powder. This is then covered in the crusty copper as it pairs well with the warm tone of the card. And once heat set, it looks stunning, and with that shine and all that texture really adds so much interest. For the last background, I'm using Slate cardstock from Gina Designs. This darker cardstock really allows the embossing powders to really pop off the background. So for the design on this one, I'm creating more of a focal point in one corner, and I'm adding a brush stroke of ink down one side vertically. I'm covering this in the weathered gold embossing powder, and when this is heat set, that gold distressed look really pops and looks beautiful against the dark colour of the card. I'm then adding another brush stroke, but this time horizontally across the top of the card, and I'm making sure it overlaps that first brush stroke we've created. This is then covered in the etched platinum, which works really well with the grey colour within the card. Okay, so let's use these backgrounds to create 3 cards. For the first card, I've die cut the sentiment "Thank You" out of white card using the Altenew tool Alpha dies, and I've cut the sentiment 3 times to lay each letter up so it gives it some dimension. I'm keeping the sentiment really simple so that dimension just allows it to stand out. I've kept the card quite simple to allow that embossing powders really to stand out, and they just pop through the white of the card, but I did add a few Nouveau drops in white just to finish it off. For the second background, I've die cut the Birch Press Designs Big Hello Sugarscript Shadow and Die from white card, and I've layered the word die up 3 times. To add a bit more to this sentiment and really make it stand out, I'm using the brush to apply ink to the bottom of the die to give it that dipped embossed look. What's great with using the brush for this as opposed to an ink pad is you can really easily see where you're applying the ink. I've then covered this in the weathered gold embossing powder and heat set it, and I've mounted the sentiment onto the card. To finish this card off, I've just used a sentiment from the Altenew Sentiments strip stamp set, along with, again, a few white Nouveau drops and a few white paint splatters. For the last card, I've die cut a stitch tag out of white card, and this time I'm adding some texture to the bottom of the tag to give it that dipped, embossed look again. This time I'm painting vertically as I want that distressed paintbrush marks to appear, and it was covered with the crusty copper. For the sentiment, I'm using the It's Your Birthday sentiment, which you'll find in the Hello Lovely stamp set from WOW. And this was stamped in Versafine Onyx black ink. I've foam mounted the tag onto the front of the card, and I've created a bow out of lawn fawn hemp cord, and I'm securing that in place with some Gina connect glue. Again, a few white paint splatters and Nouveau drops just finished this card off. These backgrounds were so easy to create, and I had so much fun using the mixed media brush. It's really easy to use. It's not just for mixed media artists, and there are plenty of opportunities to use it in card making. Also, how great are these embossing powders from Seth Apter? My favourite has to be the crusty copper, but which one was yours? Just let me know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed today's video, do give it a thumbs up, and why not subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next video. Also hit that bell icon to be notified when the next video is up. If you'd like to check out my personal channel, Pretty Little Button, I've also included a link here as well as down below. Also, why not check out these other videos for some more inspiration. Until next time, happy crafting!